One of my first movie memories as a kid was going to the pictures. Yeah, we called cinemas pictures in the 80s, to see Back to the Future. I saw all the Back to the Future movies at the pictures when they came out. I loved them. I saw Back to the Future so many times that I've lost count. You know how young kids will get obsessed with a video and play it over and over and over? Like how kids will watch the same Wiggles video a billion times. Well, we didn't have kids videos in the 80s. We had movies on VHS. My dad had 2 VCRs so you could play on one and record on the other. The bad thing about having pirated VHS tapes is that you might accidentally bump the remote and tape over things by accident. My copy of Ferris Bueller's Day Off had this in the middle of it.
I can't wait to see the look on the bastard's face.
Z.
The best thing about pirating movies this way is that you could continuously tape over things that you don't want to watch anymore. Which is why my copy of Back to the Future ended like this. My sister Mel would watch Back to the Future and The End of Grease every single afternoon for about 3 years. This means that between the ages of 9 and 12, I also got to watch it every day because she would get upset if you took the tape out of the VCR.
He cries whenever we take him out, so we just leave him in there all the time.
So, if I do the math, I have seen Back to the Future close to 1,000 times. When you watch a movie that many times, you start to notice things you wouldn't normally. Before we get this started, let's go through the story as you know it so far. If you haven't seen Back to the Future yet, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, I'm not going to say spoilers. You've had 31 years to get this. What have you been doing with your time? Anyway, Back to the Future is the story of Marty McFly, a 16-year-old slacker from the fictional Californian town of Hill Valley in 1985. Hill Valley has a courthouse with a clock on it that stopped at 10:04 p.m. It's been like that since 1955. He finds this out from some old lady that pops out of nowhere.
30 years ago, lightning struck that clock tower and the clock hasn't run since.
Thanks, Mrs. Exposition.
Thank you. Don't forget to take a flyer.
So, Marty likes rock music and he likes it loud. He has a girlfriend named Jennifer. His best friend is an old scientist named Dr. Emmett L. Brown. Doc creates a time machine from the most unsellable car of the 80s, a DeLorean.
This sucker's electrical, but I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity I need.
Look, it's not supposed to be realistic. Don't ask me how it works, just follow along. Anyway, Doc stole some plutonium from some Libyan nationalists. The terrorists find out they've been duped and they kill Doc. Marty escapes in the DeLorean and accidentally travels back to 1955. Once Marty realizes he is in 1955 now, he immediately goes about fucking up his own existence. He bumps into his parents, which makes them not meet each other, which puts his own life in jeopardy because...
So if they can't kiss, they can't fall in love, and I'm history.
Marty finds Doc in 1955 and is all like, "Hey, I'm from the future. It's your fault. Get me back." Doc's all, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Anyway, they figure out that a bolt of lightning can give them the same power as a nuclear reaction. The flyer that Mrs. Exposition gave him says that the clock in the town square is going to be struck by lightning in a week. Wow, did you get that plot point at the convenience store? Marty spends the week trying to get his parents to fall in love so he doesn't get
Erased from existence.
inventing the skateboard, pissing off bullies, inventing rock and roll, and macking on his own mum. Marty teaches his dad to stand up for what he wants. Marty gets to play at the school dance. Doc helps Marty get back to 1985. His whole family is richer, healthier, and they even look better. Because of Marty's loose ethics with time travel, he manages to convince Doc to protect himself in 1985 so he doesn't die. Marty gets a sweet truck. And then there's the ending that they would have done better if they knew there was actually going to be a sequel.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
80s. Oh, Cafe 80s. It's one of those nostalgia places.
But is that really the whole story? There are so many conveniences in this plot that push it along. Sure, I can suspend my disbelief and accept that some crackpot made a time machine out of a DeLorean, the car that cocaine paid for. But I can't believe that the only thing that Marty has on him from the future is a photo of his siblings that help him understand the dilemma, and this flyer from Mrs. Exposition that perfectly explains how to solve the dilemma, especially after he had enough forethought to leave every 1985 item in the car. But what if Marty doesn't have any information about the clock tower or the lightning strike? What if Marty doesn't know Doc? What if his parents called the cops on Doc for luring their son out to an empty car park in the middle of the night to check out his cool van? It's plot points like this that make me think that the timeline we are following in the movie is not the original timeline. Let me explain. In Back to the Future 2, Doc shows Marty how the space-time continuum works.
Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein, but reality for everyone else.
This explains why there can be 2 Martys and 2 Docs and 2 Biffs in 1955, and why they have to avoid their counterparts so they don't cause a paradox and unravel time itself. Original Marty, who we are now going to refer to as OG Marty, is a troubled kid. He sneaks out at night, riding his skateboard around everywhere, playing heavy rock music, hanging off the back of cars. Wait, is that a fucking cop car? Marty McFly. Badass. This troubled kid sees a flashy car in town one night and steals it. He goes hooning around in it, goes over 88 miles per hour, and then gets zapped back to 1955, but with no flyer and no knowledge of how to get home. He doesn't even know Doc, but he knows that Doc invented the time machine because he saw it on the side of his truck. So he tracks Doc down. Imagine you're Doc Brown sitting in your house working on your mind-reading device when a troubled teenager shows up and tells you this crazy story that he's from the future. He stole a DeLorean from future you and it sent him back in time by accident. If Marty doesn't have the flyer or the photo, Doc can't predict any future events. He has no way of sending Marty home.
Marty, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you're stuck here.
Doc knows that if Marty bumps into his parents or changes anything in Hill Valley, it could unravel the space-time continuum, so he sends him away to live somewhere other than Hill Valley, somewhere he can remain anonymous. In a big city like Los Angeles, for instance, Marty could live out his days in anonymity. Now, Doc feels so horrible for inventing something that ruined a person's life, so spends the next 30 years charting all events that his 1955 counterpart can use to help him get Marty back. He tracks down the McFlys, meets Marty as a child, befriends him and his parents, which is why Lorraine and George never mention Doc or get annoyed at Marty leaving in the middle of the night to hang out with him. He's like part of the family. Doc raises Marty to not be a criminal thug car thief. Doc has to wait for Marty to be the right age and for DeLoreans to be invented, so he orchestrates Mrs. Exposition to give Marty the flyer in the town square with the info about the lightning strike and the clock tower. The time machine that Marty first sees in 1985 in the car park is actually the one from the past. Doc has just kept it working. It's made of stainless steel, so it won't rust, and this explains why it's so easy for him to cleverly design it to easily fit a big pole and hook into the electrics, for fuck's sake. And he actually has that bulletproof vest on the first time we see him get shot. If I had to make sure that I was going to live for 30 more years, I'd wear a bulletproof vest all the time. It was all a ruse to get Marty to film
All your questions will be answered. Roll tape.
and show 1955 Doc the videotape so he could take notes on how the time machine worked. He did all this to belay his own guilt for getting a kid trapped in the past. He eventually gets Marty 2, the Marty we know, back to the future and doesn't have to spend a life knowing that he ruined a man's life with his invention. So, what happened to OG Marty? Well, Marty's big dream is to be a rock star. He's a fan of Huey Lewis, obviously. He has a sports poster on the wall. He even tries out for the band auditions at school. Marty plays Power of Love at the band auditions, so he obviously knows Huey Lewis's music. If I went back in time and wanted to be a famous musician, and I knew how to play all of Huey Lewis's songs, I would just go and become famous by recording those songs first. Then OG Marty would replace Huey Lewis in this space-time continuum. So, if OG Marty takes Huey's place in the world, then the space-time continuum would have to try and replace the void in Hill Valley with OG Huey. And this is why Huey Lewis is the teacher at the band auditions. All of Doc's messing with the timeline actually makes people look different as well. The changes that they made to the timeline in the original movie made all the McFlys look different, right? What about something big like changing Marty's entire personality completely from birth? Maybe the original Marty, in my theory, didn't even look like Michael J. Fox, but actually more like Eric Stoltz. And that's why we keep finding pictures of Eric Stoltz online in all the situations from the movie. I guess this also means that Eric Stoltz grows up to look like Huey Lewis. Okay, it's a weird theory, but isn't that why you rewatch movies? To find meaning in them. Just don't watch the same movie 1,000 times, or you might also break your brain like I did. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more stupid theory videos in the future.